How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? I am Dave B. I sell Chevys, and I also drive Chevys. I currently drive a 2019 Chevrolet Bolt EV that I leased. And today, I want to go over the #1 reason why you are going to love driving a Chevrolet, or a General Motors, for that matter, electric vehicle in the future. Before we do that, what I want to do is I want to lift up the vehicle. I'm going to take off the wheel here and I want to measure my brake pads. I bought this tool the other day. This tool basically will show you the measurements of the brakes. So the first one here is 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters. Obviously red means bad. You need to replace your brakes. 3 is 4, 5, and 6 millimeters. So that's going to be like your caution and when you should start looking about maybe replacing the brakes. And then when you get into the green, we're at 8 millimeters, 10 millimeters, and 12 millimeters, which is, new brakes, good brakes. And I'm curious, after 44,000 miles that I have on this vehicle, where my brake pads are. Like, how much brake pads do I have remaining on this vehicle? I have the tire removed. I turned the wheels a little bit so it can better expose the brake pads themselves on the caliper here. And if you look in there, you'll see that you can see where the pad is up against the rotor. I kind of have the light shining out of there. Now, I'm thinking that after 44,000 miles of driving and brake pads generally starting at 10, 11 millimeters, 12 millimeters, depending on the car, at this point, I should probably be around maybe 6, maybe 7 millimeters remaining. Easily used a little bit less than half of what the pads would have from brand new. But as you look here, if I put this 6 millimeter tool in here, or measuring tool, I have a tremendous amount of room because we have way more than 6 millimeters. Since I had all that room, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right to the 10 millimeter and we're going to measure it out. This tool goes up to 12 millimeters. So let's assume brake pads on this car brand new are 12 millimeters. We're going to go to the 10 and we're going to see if we can get that 10 in there. And what you'll notice is it fits perfect. So 10 millimeters of brake travel remaining on these pads after driving 44,000 miles. I decided to take the back wheel off as well to measure the rear brakes. Now, these are a little bit worn more than the front. These are at 8 millimeters. So we have 8 millimeters of brake pad left on the back. Now, I'm gonna assume that we did the driver's side of the vehicle. I'm gonna assume the passenger side is the same. 10 millimeters in the front, 8 millimeters in the back. That being said, a lot of brake life left for a vehicle with 44,000 miles on it. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, Dave, how is that? What do you never hit the brakes? Like, what kind of driving do you do? And I do a combination of city driving, country, rural roads, and highway. Plenty of braking, plenty of stop and go. But again, getting back to how I started this video, the #1 reason you are going to love driving a GM electric vehicle, 2 words: regenerative braking. Before we talk about regenerative braking, let's just talk about vehicles in general, right? They possess kinetic energy just by a virtue of being in motion. So when we're driving a vehicle down the road, it possesses kinetic energy. To stop that vehicle, that energy has to be transferred somewhere. So normally what we do is we hit our brake pedal, and then with that energy gets transferred to the brake system. So you hit the brake pedal, the caliper squeezes the pads against the rotor, causes friction. That friction in turn stops the vehicle. And that's essentially what we do in every car that we drive. Now, what's great about electric vehicles is you can use the electric motor sort of as a generator. So as you're coasting, or there's a couple different ways I'm going to show you, as you're using the regenerative braking system, the electric motor is used as a generator, which could basically collect the energy, the kinetic energy of that vehicle in motion, slowing it down and taking that energy, creating electricity, putting it back into the battery. So you're actually, in a sense, recharging and capturing that energy and putting it back into the battery for later use. And there's 3 main ways you can do that. The first way you do this is just by basically letting off the throttle. So as you let go of the throttle and the vehicle essentially is coasting, it's using regenerative braking and it's capturing some of that energy. Now, what you can do in a Chevrolet Bolt like this 2019 that I drive is, rather than going into drive, you can go into L for 1 pedal driving. In the new 2022 models, there is actually a button for 1 pedal driving. And what that does is it gives you a higher level of regenerative braking. So as you let go of the throttle, you're gonna slow down faster. And as you slow down faster, again, you're capturing energy, putting it back into the battery, and you're not actually using your brake pedal to slow the vehicle down. And if you time it right, you could basically drive the vehicle just feathering that throttle to either accelerate or stop to a complete stop. Now, the third way you can do it is you have what's called a Regen on demand or regenerative braking paddle. It's on the back of the steering wheel. If we look here, it's right in the back of the steering wheel, and basically you're just gonna press and hold. So if you press and hold this, that is Regen on demand, which means you're using regenerative braking. So you have, you could just coast, you can drive one pedal, you could also use Regen on demand to slow this vehicle to a complete stop, all without having to use the brake pedal at all. But of course you have your brake pedal there. So in an emergency situation, or if you wanna drive with the brake pedal, you're more comfortable doing that, you can drive like a regular car. By driving with these other regenerative braking methods, you can maximize your range. Right now, over the last 6,100 miles, I'm averaging 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour. As you can see here, I'm not even fully charged, and my estimated mid-level range is 239 miles. My max is 282. This car with the updated battery is rated at 259 miles of range. I've been averaging in the 270 to the 280 range based on my driving styles and my driving habits. Now what I want to do is I want to take you out in my Bolt. We're going to go for a ride, and I'm going to show you how this system works in some real world situations to give you a great idea. I also want to mention this tool is a great tool to measure brake pads. You can actually measure brake pads right through the wheel itself. So for instance, if you're looking to buy a car, I'm not really lined up here. If the wheel's lined up correctly, this will fit in the wheel, and you can actually measure brake pads on your own. So if this is a tool you think you want, below will be a link to Amazon. You can pick it up, it's like 10 bucks. And when you're shopping for used cars, you can measure the brake pads yourself. Okay, we are in the Bolt. We're ready to drive to where we have to drive after work. It's about a 30-mile drive or so. I'm going towards New York City. So we're gonna have some rural roads, we're gonna have some highway, we're gonna have some city traffic, we're gonna have a little bit of everything where I can kind of show you real world what the regenerative braking does and how it works. I also want to point out real quick, I did charge up the car. Probably another 10 or 15 minutes would have topped it off completely. But as you can see there, my average is about 245 miles with a max of 346 and a minimum of 200. It's currently 93 degrees outside, and I am running with the air conditioning on because I do want to be comfortable. If I turn the air conditioning off, that 245 actually goes up to about 290. So that gauge gives you like a real-time, a real-world snapshot in time of what you should get based on how you're using the vehicle. I'm going to do a video on that gauge by itself and how to read it. So definitely tune in for that in the future. But for now, let's hit the road and let's do some regenerative braking. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my vehicle in drive, but I'm going to immediately press down and drop it down to L for one pedal driving. Now, like I mentioned earlier, one pedal driving is basically you're just putting your foot on the throttle, or what you might be used to, obviously the gas pedal in your car, and you're going to feather that pedal by just, accelerating and letting go. So right now I let go of the pedal. You can see I came to a complete stop right before I got on the road here, and now I'm back on the throttle to accelerate, onto Route 10. I never took my foot off the pedal, I just adjusted the pressure that I was applying to it. So let's see what else we can do as we drive home. As I'm approaching this car in front of me here, I'm just easing off on the throttle. My foot is still on the pedal, and I'm just, I'm gonna gauge how much I need to let go in order to stop before, obviously, hitting the back of the car. We're gonna make a turn here. I have the light to do it. Right now I'm letting go. I completely let go of the pedal. Made my turn at about 16 miles an hour, put the weight back on the pedal, and I'm accelerating down the road. Again, you're just feathering the throttle. You're putting weight on it, you're taking weight off. Right now the light just turned right in front of me here. I let go completely, and the timing, of when I let go of that pedal to when I needed to stop at that light was basically perfect. I'm literally right up at the white line there of where I should have stopped. And that just comes in time. As you drive one pedal, you basically get better and better at it as you do it. You can see here, my foot is basically just resting on the pedal, and now I'm accelerating. I just, hit the throttle like you normally would, and you're back up and running. We're about to approach another red light here where we're gonna have to make a right-hand turn. Right now we're behind this Nissan Rogue. We're cruising at 42 miles an hour. I got my foot on the accelerator. I'm slightly accelerating. Right about now, I'm letting go of that pedal. Let go of it completely. My foot is just kind of covering it. And as you can see, I came to a stop, basically right where I needed to be. Now here I could turn on red. There's some cars coming, so I'm just gonna wait a second. You'll notice my foot is still just covering the throttle. I don't have to worry about hitting the brake, and I'm right back off and running. One of the things that is pretty cool when you're driving in one pedal driving, or when you come to a complete stop with the paddle and then hold that paddle for a few seconds, you don't have to hold the brake for the car to stay, you know, still. It just sits there. It's not going to creep forward like it would if you were in regular drive mode. If you were in regular drive mode, it's going to kind of creep forward just like an idling gas car would if you were to let go of the brake. It's going to sort of roll, you know, maybe 2, 3, 4 miles an hour. You know, so that's one cool thing about one pedal driving as well. Another light up here. Now I don't know if I'm going to make this one. Let's see if we can make it green. Right now I let go of the throttle, no brake pedal, slowed down to about 21 miles an hour, made the turn, accelerated right back out of it. Never had to hit the brake, just regenerative braking. And now when I get on the 280 here, what I'm going to show you, which is pretty cool, and this is where sports cars like Camaros and Corvettes, people are really going to like, because you can go into a corner like you normally would. Right now you'd be on the brake. Well, I'm just letting go and I'm slowing down from regenerative braking. Now I'm accelerating out of the corner. Now I'm going into the next corner. Slowing down, accelerating out of it. Slowing down and paddle. Hear those tires screeching right out of it. You know, people are really going to love the performance aspect of an electric car, because not only do you have that regenerative braking that can slow you down before you go into a corner, but you have the instant torque coming out of that corner to just launch out of it. And I'm probably going to make a second video about the torque of an electric car, because in my opinion, that's the #2 reason why you're going to love driving a General Motors electric vehicle. Now on the highway, I'm going to change things up a little bit. I'm going to go to D for drive. I'm going to take myself out of one pedal driving. Generally, when I'm on the highway, if there's no reason for me to slow down or stop, I just go and drive. I feel like drive is the best way to go because you're going to coast farther. If I let go of the pedal altogether now, like I was doing before, I'm going to slow down. Now, because I'm in drive mode, I just kind of coast, and I kind of slow down like I would if I was in a normal gasoline vehicle. I can tell you that General Motors really has this car dialed in well. When you let go of the throttle, when it's in drive, it's going to slow down and kind of roll just as much as a normal car would. When you're in one pedal driving, it's almost like the speed that the vehicle will slow down with regenerative braking almost matches the same comfortable speed you would slow down if you were applying a brake pedal. You know, a lot of times I find myself using one pedal and I'm slowing down behind another car, and we're slowing at the same rate of speed. You know, they're on their brake pedal. Me, however, I'm just off the throttle and using regenerative braking. The next real world situation I want to show you with regenerative braking is on a large downhill, and you know how the car handles on a relatively big downhill. Right now I'm on 280 East. This portion is a pretty decent downhill, but we're going to wait till we get to the top of the next hill and go down the next portion to kind of show you. So I'll be right back. All right, we're back. We're at the top of the hill. We're about to crest over and start our descent down this large hill. Now, when you go down a hill in a car, what happens, right? You pick up speed. As you pick up speed, generally the main way you're going to slow down is you're going to apply brakes. You're going to use the brakes to slow you down. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just accelerating here. I'm in drive, so I'm in normal mode, not one pedal. And if you look at my gauge here to the right-hand side, you'll see that we're gaining 12 to 15 kilowatts because we're actually using regenerative braking just by coasting and rolling down this hill. Now you'll notice the vehicles in front of me, like this white Dodge here and some cars in the distance, are applying brakes. They're applying brakes because they're trying to slow their speed back, you know, from accelerating down the hill, you know, and the car just rolling freely for the most part. I've been at 73 pretty much, I think, the whole time, just kind of cruising around, maintaining my speed and capturing some of that energy and putting it back into the battery. Now that was a pretty big downhill for this particular area of New Jersey where I am, but I can imagine if you were up in Vermont, you're in the Rockies, in Colorado, areas like that where you have real large mountains and big downhills, regenerative braking is going to come in tremendously handy in those situations. For one, reducing wear on your brake pads, and two, giving you a lot better control of the vehicle as you're descending those large downhills. My exit's coming up that I have to get off on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to L. I'm gonna go back into one pedal. I gotta move over to the right lane here because we're gonna take this next exit. And I know it's gonna get a little slower moving in this section of the highway. So I wanna make sure I have one pedal activated. This way, again, I can just feather the throttle and adjust my speed based on the conditions in front of me. Right now you can see we're cruising about 64 miles an hour. We got some brake lights up ahead, so it's already where I'm starting to reduce my speed, again, just by lifting the weight of my foot off the accelerator. As you can see here, we got a little slowdown yet. I am now hitting, so I didn't even have to hit the paddle. I was using the the throttle, I lifted my foot off. I was gonna go to the paddle as a secondary to slow down, but I didn't have to because the regenerative just from the one pedal driving slowed me enough to keep the proper distance from this car in front of me. Stop and go traffic is another thing. You know, a lot of people I've talked to over the years say they don't want to drive a manual transmission in traffic, right? The clutch, the gas, the brake, the shifting, it was an annoyance. Well, imagine not even having to do gas to brake. Gas, brake, brake, gas, brake, and stop and go traffic. Just doing this. One foot on one pedal, just letting off as you need to, re-accelerating when you have to. It's awesome. When you drive a General Motors electric vehicle in one pedal driving mode, you're literally gonna fall in love with how that handles and that drivability. You're going to love it. I know you're going to love it. And once you get used to it, you start to realize that it's really a better way to drive a vehicle. I mean, it's a better way, and it is fun. And it's not, you know, it's a different kind of fun. Yeah, you don't have the exhaust, you don't have the noise, you're not shifting gears, but most cars aren't manuals anyway, it's automatics. So why wouldn't you want to just have instant torque that you can kind of accelerate, and then when you let go of the pedal, you slow right back down. And you could adjust your speed based on conditions, you know, in front of you. It's truly awesome. We're now coming up on a toll plaza. These are awesome. I'm doing 54 miles an hour, 53, 52. I am now just gonna come off the throttle a little bit to slow myself down. Again, it's all about feathering the throttle and the timing. You can see the speeds dropping 28, 27, 25, 21, 19, easy pass paid. Accelerate right out. Never took my foot off the pedal. Think about when you drive. Next time you're in your car and you're going somewhere, try to count all the times you press the brake pedal. And then imagine driving that same trip, that same drive that you did, when you count how many times you hit the brake pedal, to think that you can reduce that probably by at least 90%. But 90% of the time, you don't even need the brake pedal. Now it's there for you, again, in emergencies, but how nice is it to just be able to control the vehicle with one pedal, just feathering the throttle? It's awesome. You're gonna love it. I know you're gonna love it. I also think it's much safer driving with one pedal driving. One of the things I remember I learned like 1997 when I was in driver's ed in high school was they taught you to cover the brake, right? So when you thought you had to stop, what you would do is you would take your foot off the gas and you would just hover your foot or cover the brake pedal to be ready to slow down or be ready to stop. Well, with the one pedal driving, as soon as you lift the weight of your foot off the pedal, you're already starting to slow down and stop. You know, so it's almost like you're a step ahead of the game. If you had to make an emergency maneuver or something like that, the instant you come off the throttle, you're already slowing down before you even get to the brake pedal. So it's definitely safer. And I should also mention that when you use one pedal driving or you use the paddle, the brake lights do come on in those situations. So people will know you're slowing down even though your foot's not on the actual brake pedal. Next thing I'm doing is hopping on the New Jersey Turnpike extension bridge here. So we're coming into an off-ramp. It's a 20-mile-per-hour off-ramp. I'm doing 53 right now. I am now letting go of the throttle partially. I still have a little bit of weight on it. You can see I'm dropping my speed. I'm in the low 30s now. Coming around the corner. And as I get towards the, the end of that off-ramp, I accelerate right out of it. And again, I know I'm a broken record here, but I never hit the brake pedal. Off topic, this Turnpike extension bridge has been under construction since I started driving in 1997. There's never been a time that I can remember that it has not had some sort of a project ongoing. It's ridiculous. If you look at the cars in front of me, they're hitting the brakes, right? They're driving too close to the car in front of them. They're hitting the brake. As I get closer, I just let go of the throttle and I slow down. Brake lights, brake lights, brake lights. They're all on the brake pedal. What does that mean? That means excess wear and tear to their brake pads. It means their foot's back and forth between gas and brake. Driving one pedal, you can modulate your speed a lot better. You can keep the proper distance and you don't have to do all that extra work. It's an easier way to drive a car. You're gonna love it. Coming up on another toll booth here, I'm gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna come in hot. So I'm coming in pretty quick. I am now letting go, and then what I'm gonna do too is I'm gonna hit my paddle, and I'm gonna slow down just in time to pay my easy pass. Accelerate out. Never hit the brake pedal. City streets, as cars are slowing down. In front of you, as you gotta make different maneuvers, I gotta yield here. I can do all that, again, just by feathering the throttle. It also comes in handy in the city making turns, right? So as you're making right-hand turns and you want to slow down, you can slow down, accelerate right out of the turn. Up ahead, we got a stop sign. I'm gonna time it. Right now, I'm letting go. Turn signal on because I'm gonna make a left. I'm gonna hit the paddle to make sure I stop by the white lines. Look at that. I don't know if I mentioned yet in this video, but I never hit the brake pedal. Shout out to Magic Fountain and RG's Bicycle Shop. I'm currently in my hometown right now, so I'm driving down the main strip, just reminiscing a little bit. Here comes a red light. Gonna let go right about now. Coast nice and easy. Actually, I'm gonna accelerate a little bit to get to the end of the line. There we go. Now, you'll notice my foot is not on the pedal at all. I'm just sitting still, right? Because I'm in one pedal driving, so the car's just gonna stay. If you're in a really steep angle, it will roll a little bit, I found, but on flat ground, you know, you just basically sit in one spot. Right now, my brake lights are not on. They come on while you're slowing down. Once you come to a full stop, they do turn off. Now, it could be safe, it could not be safe, I don't know. If you want, you put your foot in your brake as you're sitting still and your brake lights will turn on, you know, for cars behind you. If you're at like a red light by yourself and you see someone approaching you, maybe at that point you want to hit the brake lights, you know, put your brakes on to make sure that they do see that you're stopped. Got one more red light up here. We're gonna stop for this one. Then I'm gonna close out this video. For the most part, I think we've learned all we needed to learn. The whole idea is, again, I'm not hitting the brake pedal and I'm coming to a stop, you know, in a perfect spot. You just have to learn by experience, how to drive one pedal. When you learn it, you will absolutely love it. What did we learn? We learned that one pedal driving works great. Red lights, stop signs, toll booths, downhills, traffic. Literally every time you hit the brake, you don't necessarily have to in a vehicle by General Motors that's electric with one pedal driving. I truly believe when you do get in, when you drive it, you're gonna love it. You're gonna come to love it a lot, more than you may think at this particular moment if you have no experience. If you have any questions at all, please put them down in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them all and kind of talk you through things, help you out. I got a lot of experience with 3 different electric cars, you know, in my life. So, you know, I've been in them. I've been experiencing it for a long time. A lot of people are gonna get into this for the first time within the next 2-3 years. It's something new. I'm an outlet you can come to ask questions. So please do. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, if you got anything out of it, please give it a thumbs up. And remember, the cool kids always subscribe.